The Wild Origins of the Mormon Religion, Alex O'Connor. More Alex O'Connor YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. I kid you not, the origins of Mormonism is wild. It really, really, really is wild. If you haven't studied it, on my Mythvision channel, I have an entire series of Mormonism, the origins to the death, to the how the cult splintered into so many different cultic sects. It's honestly wild. The Book of Mormon, the death of Joseph, all sorts of stuff. Let's hear what Alex O'Connor has to say here. And, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check the bell. Most of you haven't subscribed and hit the bell. I think 90% of you who watch are not subscribed. So please take the time to do so. Become part of the family. And also, it helps us if you comment, letting us know your favorite part. How can you tell us if you haven't seen what we're doing? So let's get started.
Do you know who the first ever U.S. presidential candidate to be assassinated while running for office was?
While running for office?
While running for office. It was Joseph Smith, founder of the Mormon Religion.
Wow.
He was running for president at the time.
Oh.
While he was traveling out to Salt Lake City.
That's right. So they were sort of constant. Mormonism.
This is a fact. Most people don't realize this. The founding cult leader of Mormonism, Joseph Smith, ran for U.S. president. And, of course, he was killed. Some would say assassinated. And, yeah, he was, because it wasn't due process, none of that. It was, the way it happened was a mob. But let's see what Alex says.
Yeah, Mormons might be onto something. Man. We gotta look into it.
Mormonism is
I don't want to get us distracted.
No, it's absolutely fascinating, man, because like it's such a wacky story, like the history of, and because it's relatively recent, it's like 1800s. Like there's more records. Like we know certain things happened, so we know that Joseph Smith claims to receive these golden plates. He's told by the angel Moroni, go and dig up these golden plates. The golden plates exist because
this is true. Golden plates are central to his religion. By the way, I don't know if Joseph Smith got the idea from like ancient Zoroastrianism or something, or if this is just some random thing in his mind in his treasure hunting days, because I think that there is this idea that Ahura Mazda has in heaven on golden plates this divine law, divine message that is given to Zoroaster. So there may be something to it. Maybe it's coincidental. I'm not sure.
Ancient Israel, just before the Babylonian captivity, some Jews, some Israelites were warned, and so they fled, and they built boats, and they sailed to America.
Jersey.
And they had entire civilizations. The Garden of Eden was in Jackson County, Missouri,
of course.
by the way. They have an entire. They
think the Garden of Eden was here in America. By the way, that tells you the biblical landscape is actually over here.
Entire civilization. They were like, I'm talking like Lord of the Rings, like battles and wars and societies and all this kind of stuff. And then the very last person, the very last Nephite. I think I might be getting some of this wrong. I think this is actually the son of Mormon, but Mormon's the one who like puts it all together. So. Sort of writes down the record of his people on these golden plates and buries them.
Got it.
Because he's the last of his kind. And then Joseph Smith is in upstate New York, and God says to him, hey man, like, go and find these plates. So Joseph Smith has these plates, and they're written in something which is called Reformed hieroglyphics. Okay. So they look a bit like Egyptian hieroglyphics. And Joseph Smith can miraculously translate them. And the way that he does it is not by looking at the plates, puts the plates aside. He takes his hat. He takes a special kind of stone called a seer stone. He puts the seer stone in the hat. He puts his head into the hat, and the stone starts glowing and translating what's on the golden plates. And he starts dictating. He starts saying it out loud. And someone starts writing it down.
Fire.
And he's the only one who can see it.
He's the only one that can see the translation. He's the
only one who can see it glowing.
Yeah, because he's got his head. He's got his head in the hat, right?
Yeah.
And you can see that they have
never showed anyone the golden plates.
There are something like 11, maybe 13 witnesses to the golden plates.
Oh, there are.
Actually, if you read the Book of Mormon, it opens with the testimony of the 13 witnesses to the golden plates. Apart from that, nobody saw them. But the funny thing is, it sounds really wacky, but what I love about what Mormons can do is they go to Christians, and Christians are like, this is the most ridiculous, false prophet, nonsense, whatever. And they're like, oh, really? So how many eyewitness testimony written accounts do you have to the resurrection? Oh, you've got none. You've just got a few second-hand accounts. Oh, because we've got 13 eyewitness.
I love that, because the Mormons do have more eyewitness testimony that you know, people who are actually claiming to have seen it than the Christians. Now, Christians throw in the 500 witnesses, but they don't have any names, they don't have any people, they don't have any places, they don't have anything. Just up and 500 saw them. What the hell? That's not a winner. A winner would be, Bob, I live in Kentucky and I was there on Friday. You know, that's better than some random little mention which could have been added by anybody at any time. Paul may not have even written it for all we know. I mean, there's just so many questions.
Like affidavit, like written down testimonies of people who were still alive and were questioned by like the press about it.
Yeah.
And like even one of the guys who who swore that he saw the golden plates later falls out with Joseph Smith, is kicked out of the Mormon church.
Still like, I saw them
but
plates.
he still says he saw the plates until the day that he died.
I love it.
Now there's some debate about this because one of them sort of says, well, he saw them with his spiritual eyes, which kind of means it might have been a vision.
Yeah.
But then he's asked about that and he says, look, gentlemen, look at your hands. As truly as you see your hands, I saw those plates, right? So there's
that's confident, because in the biblical text, you know, you can go to the Gospel of John and Luke and get more of a solid case. I mean, we're talking mythological, we're talking narrative, right? There's a lot of clearly legend, but they're not like depicting like, I saw him and touched him, other than Luke and John, later Gospels. Paul doesn't give that. He speaks in Revelation, he speaks in Apocalypse, internal visions. I went to the third heaven and I saw, like, it doesn't sound the same as what you get in these later Gospels. So it's like, look, the Mormons are making even more of a solid case, meaning if you're not convinced of the Mormon faith and eyewitness testimony is what you depend on here for Christianity, reevaluate your method. Reevaluate what it would take for you to be convinced, because I don't think it's the evidence, ladies and gentlemen, or the claims of people who claim that they witnessed these things. No.
this going on, right? So Joseph Smith then like founds this religion off the basis of it, and they don't like being called Mormons because Mormon is the name of one of their I guess he's a prophet, but he's like the guy that collates the Book of Mormon. They are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day
Islamists or something.
Yeah, or like calling them a Mohammedan probably is more similar, which is what they used to call Muslims because they sort of misunderstood what they were all about. But yeah, like they sort of flip and flop about whether it's okay to call them Mormons, because it's a bit clunky to say member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or Latter-day Saint, right? But so Joseph Smith, they're setting up communities, and they're trying to find somewhere to like set up their community. So they're traveling around the United States, and when they get to Missouri, they cause such a problem in Missouri that there is something called, I think it's called the Missouri Executive Order 45 or something, otherwise known as like the Mormon Extermination Order, which is where the governor of Missouri, based on some like inflated reports about what the Mormons were doing, gets so like worried and paranoid about them that he issues an order to exterminate Mormons, to drive them out of the land by force, which basically means that you could just like kill Mormons.
And this became the persecution foundation. You know, like Christians today, well, the proof of our faith is that we're being persecuted. Mormons have interpreted this as evidence of persecution and therefore proof that we will be persecuted for his name's sake.
He just like go Mormon hunting because he wanted them gone. They were causing such a problem. Like in the United States, there was a law passed, an executive order, that said we're just going to kill Mormons and drive them out of our land.
Kill white people. I know.
Which is like...
Yeah, that's not shocking for me.
That's light work, right?
It's just like...
The worst thing America did, you could say.
Like 1800s.
What the hell?
You wouldn't believe. It's just wild.
Don't take us too far away from Jesus. I want to...
Oh, sure. Okay. But yeah, we can definitely get back to Jesus. But Joseph Smith... eventually, so part of when he decides to run for president, part of his running campaign is that he wants to annex Texas because he wants to make Texas like the land for the Mormon people. So that's part of his thing. And eventually, so you know Mormons are into like polygamy.
Yeah,
they were. Now, if you're a polygamist, you can't be a Mormon.
Oh gosh, this is so interesting. The polygamy stuff. It's just. It's really like wild how Islam goes back to polygamy, Mormonism goes back to polygamy, just like the ancient biblical text with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the whole nine, and David and Solomon and all that. And you got to go, is this just a common human thread of power that comes with cults? I don't know. It's interesting.
Like it's anathema to them. In like the 1980s or something, they finally said it's not right. But they got one of the reasons they got in so much trouble with the U.S. government was because they had multiple wives, and that was seen as totally wrong. And so Joseph Smith is now, I can't remember which state he's in when he actually dies. I think it might be Illinois, but I'm not sure about that.
I think he dies in Illinois.
He dies in Illinois.
Yeah, it's specifically the town next to Nauvoo, which is exactly where his like major settlement. He was a governor. I mean, he was all sorts of stuff.
I think that's
Missouri's
right.
like the third spot they end up, correct?
Yeah, they've sort of been all over the place, and I think Illinois is where he gets killed.
You just Google it.
And yeah, I mean maybe okay, great.
They just kept getting kicked out of places.
Yeah, they keep getting
They're
kicked
like the
out.
Christian Jews.
Yeah, seriously. But this is the thing. So Mormons will say, Mormons will point out that they have a history of like persecution, and people sort of don't know about this. You know, it's quite amazing because I debate Christians quite a lot, and they talk about how amazing it was that Christianity grew from just a small group of people to taking over the Roman Empire. And I'm like, the sociologist Rodney Stark calculated that in the first like 200 or 300 years, I think, after the birth of Christianity, the growth rate that they experience is exactly the same as the Mormon Church. and then people say, yeah, but they were being persecuted.
I don't know if those statistics are 100% correct. I don't know how anyone can know those numbers for sure. But it is interesting to kind of wonder if that is the case. It's just goes to show you the man-made nature of these religions, and they're proselytizing, right? So they're actively trying to attempt to grow their numbers. That's a factor that has to be set in.
By the Roman Empire. I'm like, have you heard of the Missouri extermination order? Like, it's great. There is a newspaper in Illinois.
Yeah, because that's the miracle, right? They're trying to exterminate. They're being removed from everywhere they go, but they're still growing. They're still gaining numbers. How, in light of the persecution of what he's describing, are the Mormons still growing if it's not divine? See what I'm saying?
That criticizes Joseph Smith for his polygamous practices. I think at this point, Joseph Smith is the governor of some kind of province of Illinois.
Yeah.
And so he decides
Nauvoo.
to like shut down
Nauvoo.
on the newspaper because he doesn't like the criticism. So he like bans it. Then there's like a riot because he's like suppressed this newspaper. Then Joseph Smith institutes martial law because of the riots, and then he flees. And then I think the governor of Illinois says, okay,
There's
Joseph
a lot to this. It's good though.
You've got to come back. You're going to face trial. We'll keep you fine, but just you got to come back. So Joseph Smith goes back. He gets put in prison, and then this big angry mob.
Okay, so it's more complicated. I know Alex is on the spot here. I am not a historian on this, but I've had a long Bryce. His name's Bryce Blankenberg, something. With me and a panel, right? David Fitzgerald. We did a series on this, and so there is the burning of the press. There's a burning of a building. There's riots that are breaking out. He is suppressing the freedom of these things, but he's taken to the next town over. And that in that city, from that jailhouse, him and his brother, that's when the mob comes in after them.
Descend on the prison, and they break into the prison. They shoot his brother in the face. His brother says, "I'm a dead man," and then he dies. And then Joseph Smith tries to escape out of a window. They shoot him. He falls out of the window onto the floor, and they shoot him dead again. So he dies in what is essentially a prison shootout.
Whoa.
And for the Mormons, this is a site of religious martyrdom.
Yep.
So you can now go to that
He's a martyr.
that prison. It's now owned by the Latter-day Saints, and it's a site that they go to as the point of martyrdom for their prophet. There it is. There's the house.
Wow.
So Joseph Smith was killed falling out of that window.
The
There's
top window. He fell out of the top window in the second story.
wow. There he is. There's
That's wild.
a big mob show up and
Yep, there he is. See him falling, and they're pow, pow, pow.
kill him. So Joseph Smith becomes like a martyr, and that's that. And then there's your typical religious like succession crisis. Who's going to take over? I think there's a point where like I think it's Brigham Young who's giving a speech saying I should be the leader, and like multiple people report seeing him like transfigure into the likeness of Joseph Smith. There's all kinds of wacky stuff going on, right? And
This is so wild.
yeah, like it sounds kind of insane, but is that any more insane than some of the Christian stories that we hear?
But it
you
was
know?
farther ago.
Yeah, exactly. And so we have this feeling.
So it's better.
Yeah, but humans, especially if we're in a modern period, still doing this, you'd think, oh, back there, they're more superstitious. And, clearly they really did have tons of cultic kind of superstitions going on around. But, yeah, humans are humans. I think the hardware is the same.
Yeah, of course. People sort of go like, "Oh, but that's ridiculous." As if God would appear to someone in upstate New York. That's ridiculous. It's like, well, that's how it sounded like God being born in Nazareth.
Yeah.
Like, they even say in the Gospels,
Galilee?
like, people are saying in the Gospels, like, is this not Joseph's son? Is this not the guy from Nazareth? Does anything good come from Nazareth? They're saying the same thing.
They're talking about it like it's Staten Island.
No, literally.
Yeah, they actually are. Yeah, seriously though, that's what's going on.
Why did Nazareth have a reputation of just?
It was just like a nowhere town.
It's like a fentanyl town.
The thing is, like, the Jews are expecting a Messiah, and the Messiah, like, there are different views on what the Messiah was going to be, but the sort of general line on this is that they were expecting people, because they're at the time they're being persecuted by Rome, so they are awaiting their Messiah
to liberate them from.
who will come and liberate. So they're expecting like this military leader who's going to lead them into battle against Rome, and they're going to win.
And they got a hippie.
They got a hippie, exactly. So
Was he really a hippie, or is that kind of the way that?
depends what you mean by a
religion
hippie.
is
Like he was pretty, like, he wasn't just like a sort of peace and love man.
kind of badass a little bit.
He said some pretty serious stuff and did some serious things. I mean, the obvious
Healer,
example.
political revolutionary.
Yeah, he's
Flipping the
he's a healer,
table,
but yeah,
right?
flipping the
He was
tables.
about
and
that
stuff. He goes
action.
into the temple, and in John's gospel he makes a cord. He like put some cords together and like turns it into a whip and goes around like with a whip driving people out of the temple because they're trading in his father's house. He also says some pretty serious stuff. He says, like, if anybody does not hate their mother and their father and their brother and sister, they cannot be my disciple.
If anyone does not hate them,
Yeah, because hatred can kind of mean in this context like preference, like it's used
if you
elsewhere.
prefer them,
Yeah, so
to-
it's one of these slightly mystifying passages, but a lot of it has to do with like how these words are understood and used at the time. So it means something. So to say that you hate someone can mean that, like, comparatively you prefer me. So he's saying that you have to put me above your friends and family, which is very sort of cult
leader 101.
But the problem with cults is that they're wrong. That's the problem with the cult, is that they're not actually.
Oh, I didn't know this interview existed. Man, I clearly have not been present in a lot of these online videos that keep coming out. Alex is always great to listen to. He's the latest, greatest. I think one of the more popular atheist online right now that are actually dealing with this kind of material. I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you'll subscribe to us. Make sure you hit the bell. Be sure to like the video and tell me what you liked about it. Comment down below. Also, give me some recommendations for videos to react to in the comment section. Until next time, see you then.